Women in America haven't always been able to do the things that they can do now. Women from the past had to work for what women now have.
In early America, colonies really didn't bother to include any women at all. Even as the colonies developed and hosted larger populations, women remained a distinct minority. Many schools in early America did teach boys and girls, however, boys' education was superior to girls' education. Lower-class girls and women in the South were barely educated if they were even educated at all. But in the North, girls and women could get privately tutored on a variety of subjects like art, music, dancing, and as well as French to help maintain an active social life. In this time period, women saw their main purpose as birthing and rearing children, as well as managing the household. Women being expected to manage the house meant different things whether or not they had money. Poor women would help their husbands with farm work while also being expected to cook and clean, while wealthier women were expected to tend the entire house and their land. In 1692, 3 women were accused of starting an epidemic called the Salem Witch Trials: Sarah Good, Sarah Osborne, and an Afro-Caribbean slave woman named Tituba. These women all went to defy Puritan gender and religion norms in some way, making them extreme targets for these trials.
Republican motherhood represents a time during the Revolutionary War during which women began stepping out of their traditional roles to support the American cause, raise money and lives, and write papers. This challenged many of the gender roles that were highly cherished as part of the 18th century Anglo-American social norms. However, after the war ended, people thought women should go back to their traditional role as wives and mothers.
Mary Wollstonecraft argued if children are to be educated to understand the true principle of patriotism, their mother must be a patriot, but the education and situation of a woman at present shuts her out.
During the American Revolution, most of the time, women often followed their husbands into the Continental Army. These women, who were known as camp followers, often worked on the domestic side of Army organization, washing, cooking, mending clothes, and providing medical help when necessary. Although women had a role in the American Revolution, some women wanted to make a bigger impact. Deborah Sampson was known for disguising herself as a man to serve in the Continental Army from May 1782 to October 1783.
Betsy Ross was also an important figure in the American Revolution. She made the first American flag.
World War I was an important time period for women's rights because they saw the war as an opportunity to serve their country but also gain more rights and independence. With millions of men away, women filled the manufacturing and agricultural positions on the home front as well as providing support on the front lines as nurses and doctors.
African American women were also able to make their first major shift from domestic employment to white-collar jobs.
Jab, cross, jab, cross. All right, go ahead, try it. Jab, cross, jab, cross. Ah, that's wonderful. Come on now, let's move, huh? Jab, cross, jab, cross, jab, cross, jab, cross.
Mother, if you want to learn how to fight, I'm afraid you're taking lessons from the wrong fellow.
She's teaching me.
Does Daddy know about this?
Well, he's at the hospital. We're going to surprise him.
During World War II, women on the home front worked in defense plants and volunteered for war-related organizations in addition to managing their households. Women in uniform took office and jobs in the armed forces in order to free men to fight. They also drove trucks, repaired airplanes, worked as laboratory technicians, rigged parachutes, served as radio operators, analyzed photographs, flew military aircraft across the country, and test flew newly repaired airplanes.
They even trained anti-aircraft artillery gunners by acting as flying targets.
Towards the end of the war, even though a majority of women that were surveyed reported that they wanted to keep their jobs, many were forced out by men returning home and by the decline in demand for war materials. In the era following World War II, there was an increase in women graduating from school, which increased their education rates. Most women before had lacked significant education, and uneducated women would mostly work jobs that were often unsafe.
I had a teacher my very first semester, because it was kind of online and we met once a week. Yeah. Obviously, in the beginning of the semester, you couldn't tell I was pregnant, but towards the end, you could. And she told me I should drop out because this kind of program was not for pregnant women or women who wanted to start families.
Women today can still be frowned upon for just wanting an education. My mother never gave me any idea that I couldn't do whatever I wanted to do or be whomever I wanted to be. She filled our house with love and fun and books and music, unflagging in her efforts to give me role models from Jane Austen to Eudora Welty to Patti Smith. As she guided me through these incredible 18 years, I don't know if she ever realized that the person I most wanted to be was her.
And can you recall a time when you were treated unfairly due to your gender in any of your jobs?
Well, it started with my first job. A bank is a place where it's male dominated.
Yeah.
And so right away I found out it was hard for females to get promoted because it is a man's world.
Yeah.
Or I should say it was a man's world in banking. So even though I was a better employee and really good at my job, a man was promoted over me. And
For a long time, men were superior in the workforce, and women thought that was unfair. They would protest for equal pay and equal job opportunities, because even though women could get jobs, that didn't mean it was equal.
All right, next question. Do you think women are treated equally in your section of work? If yes, how does your employer ensure it stays that way? And if no, how could it be better?
So I work with all women. You know, there's maybe like a few men sprinkled in, just because I do work in women's health care. So I mean, if you're a good employee, you're going to be great. You know, that really doesn't affect me in my line of work. So
Good, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
In 1920, women were about 20% of all the people in the labor force. Today, women make up about 47% of it. Men and women can now work in the same forces and do whatever job they desire. There are also certain areas that are run by just women or just men, and others where they're combined. Women now have the chance to do things that they couldn't in the past. Women can now run for president and be head of a business and CEOs, just like men.
And that role will continue to change as time goes on. The role of women in America has come such a long way from what it was when our country had started.
The role of women in America is bigger than you'll ever imagine.